This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to episode 65 of the Animanicast.
Live from the Dorothy Chandelier Pavilion, it's the Warner Brothers and their sister Dot's 65th anniversary special. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Visa Mizzelli.
For 65 years, we've laughed at their mayhem. Here are the words we use to explain them.
Uh-oh. I was afraid of this.
Silly, bizarre, loony, mad, and kooky, crazy, wigged out, giddy, bad, and goofy, yakko, wacko, and dot. They're hip, they're cool, they're hot. They're Warners, fabulous Warners, wonderful Warners. Look out, the Warners are back!
And welcome once again to the Animanicast. We are the only podcast out there that's dedicated to the animated television series, Animaniacs. Here we explore the series episode by episode, revisiting all the cultural references and gags that we can find. And in the end, we give each and every episode a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again are my co-hosts from Los Angeles, Nathan.
We're having soup today.
And from Georgia, it is Kelly.
Hi.
Well, today we have done it, guys. We've reached the end of season 1 of Animaniacs, 65 episodes long. And like we discussed, previous episodes with discussion with Tom Ruger and stuff, this is not a rare occurrence for cartoons of that time period. If I were to ask you to describe this episode in just a few words, what would you say, Nathan?
I think it proves my theory about Time Lords.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. And Kelly, what about you?
It reminded me of the AFI tribute to Steven Spielberg.
You know what? I don't know if I've seen that one, actually.
I saw it when it aired. It was so good. There were tears.
I saw the John Williams one. And
there were also tears.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I saw the AFI tribute to John Williams. I've not yet seen the Spielberg one. So
did you see George Lucas?
No, although I've seen the clips of it with Carrie Fisher talking to him, who had
She was so funny.
Yeah, he has the most amazing speech, and you can find out. You can see that online. It's just hilarious. That woman was just too funny.
Only a man like George could bring us whole new worlds, populated by vivid, extraordinary characters, and providing Mark and Harrison and myself with enough fan mail and even a small, merry band of stalkers. It's lovely, keeping us entertained for the rest of our unnatural lives. George, the fact that you made me into a little doll that my first husband could stick pins into, a shampoo bottle where people could twist my head off and pour liquid out of my neck, lather up with Leia and you'll feel like a princess yourself. And yes, the little Pez dispenser so that my daughter Billy could pull my head back and pull a wafer out of my neck every time she doesn't want to do her homework. I suppose I don't mind. And though amongst your many possessions you have owned my likeness, lo, all these years, so that every time I look in the mirror I have to send you a check for a couple of bucks.
It is very much kind of like we are watching an Oscar ceremony of some sort, right? It's this is a full-long 65th anniversary episode, actually. It is called The Warner's 65th Anniversary Special, to be precise. And
aptly named.
Aptly named, go figure. Which is, how cool that it was episode 65 with their 65th anniversary, and it really all kind of works, doesn't it? Because, Nathan, when was this episode first premiered?
Well, Joey, this episode first premiered on May 23rd, 1994, which was 65 years after the Animaniacs were created.
That's true.
Oh, also in this week, Larry King ends his radio show. Michael Jackson weds Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, and the movie releases of Beverly Hills Cop 3 and the live-action Flintstones.
Oh, the live-action Flintstones came out today, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
Michael
this week,
Jackson.
yeah.
Oh, this week. And Michael Jackson got married on this day. Back then.
It was 2 days later. I think.
2 days later. Okay, so
Mhm.
everything's kind of around this area. And then
Yeah, exactly.
but Larry King ended his radio show on this day.
Sure. I think it
Sure.
was actually later this week as well. But
Our
just a bunch of things happened the week.
our dad called in to Larry King on his radio show once and got through. I remember.
Oh, really?
He was very proud of himself, and he got in. He was able to ask a question to the author Dave Barry, who was being interviewed on the radio, and my dad taped it on the thing and had me listen to him. And it's so funny because my dad was on radio for many years, and playing back the tape, he was starstruck over the phone. You could hear him like laughing nervously and stuff like that on the phone. It was funny.
That's
so
cute.
yeah. So Larry King. There we go.
There you go.
Walla Walla, you're on Larry King. No, okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and let's get into our discussion about the episode today. The Warner 65th anniversary special. It is the season finale of season 1. Finally, yeah. The story was by Tom Ruegger, Paul Rugg, and Sherry Stoner. The episode was written by Paul Rugg, and it was directed by Alfred Gimeno. Now, there is no theme song to this episode, so we don't have to worry about variable verses or anything like that. Although it does start off with a very interesting opener. And what was that, Nathan?
So apparently, My Father the Tuna was canceled or something.
It was
Is that what the show was
postponed.
My Father the Tuna won't be seen tonight. We'll be back next week. Now let's watch the following special presentation.
Our woodchuck, with the woodchuck
yeah.
guy. What's the woodchuck's guy name again? I forget his name. It was.
Oh, I know that off the top of my head, and I can tell you right now that his name was, and this is off the top of my head, reminding you because I'm not going to be looking this up, as you would think I would be looking it up, but I'm not, because his name is clearly Charlton Woodchuck.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Nathan. Right, you got that right off your head without looking it up or anything.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Great job. Well,
Thank you, amazing Kriskins.
So Charlton Woodchuck is on there, which it makes sense that he makes a weird appearance all of a sudden again, because Paul Rugg did write that episode, Hollywood Chuck. So yeah, go figure that Paul Rugg would figure out a way to put that annoying woodchuck in an episode once again.
I'm just glad he finally made it in Hollywood.
Yeah, he did. Good point. He was on he's on My Father the Tuna. Now, I was surprised to find out this, but Nathan, you pointed out on some of our research guides and everything that we've seen My Father the Tuna before, sort of, in a previous episode, right?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to tell.
No,
us.
you
Elaborate.
I'm just making this up. No. So Hollywood Chuck appears painted on the side of the studio, I believe in episode, was it 23? It's in Wacko's Gizmo.
Yeah. So I had to double check this, and it turns out when the knight is going, when like Wacko's Gizmo like pushes a knight down a ramp and it goes out of the water tower and goes past Ralph, and Ralph freaks out and he says something like, "Oh, it's the thing," or something. And he pulls out a phone. The phone cord pulls out and it ends up having these painters kind of fall off their scaffolding, I should say. And the thing that they're painting on the side of the studio wall is My Father the Tuna. So it's all connected.
Yes, episode 57.
57. I was thinking like 23. That's like, was that far away?
That seemed way off. So.
Yeah. Okay. Good to clear that up. There's a lot of stuff to go through this episode. I think I'll kind of give a general overview of what this episode was basically about. We can talk about a few moments that we really liked, and then I'm going to go off a list of the bullet points of the different cultural references that there is, and we can kind of just discuss some of them as we go. So here we go. Basically, this episode is a salute to the Warners, celebrating their 65 years since they were drawn, and they premiered in a buddy cartoon. And basically, they premiere in a buddy cartoon, and to kind of, I guess, liven things up, I suppose, because the cartoon Outback Buddy was originally just a fictional cartoon, by the way, that was so boring that the director Weed Memlo told the animator to put something more interesting in. So the animator went crazy, apparently, and put the Warners in, and the thing was that the Warners would pop out of random places and smash Buddy with mallets.
Did you hear the date that he was created on?
Yes.
I was exhausted, and then I remember it was exactly 2:43 a.m. on the morning of February 30th. I started drawing these weird characters.
Which, that is a very interesting date, because why?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist! Yeah. I was watching that with my wife last night, and she's like, wait, February 30th? Like, oh yeah. I guess that doesn't quite make sense. So anyway.
So yeah, he's crazy. Or there's some time paradox, because they're Time Lords. But go on.
Interesting. Okay. Was that the main evidence that we had today?
No, I mean, it's just there's a bunch of how are they doing things?
Okay, so fill us in as we go then, I suppose. So anyway, the Warners, eventually got to be on their own cartoons. And of course, as we know from the newsreel of the stars, the cartoons made no sense. I think one of the cartoons was 8 hours long or 7 hours long.
It was an okay cartoon for a short, but this thing went on for 8 hours. 8 hours!
So they get locked up in the Warner Tower, yada, yada, yada. Then they escape, and it shows them kind of going throughout history, doing stuff throughout the rest of the salute. Different celebrities and different people are kind of talking about their experiences with the Warners. And then it kind of ends up with them going up to accept their award. And before they go up to their award, you're like seeing this mysterious person in shadows laughing about how the Warners are going to get hurt or something like that. And of course you kind of suspect, I bet it's Buddy, because Buddy was smashed so many times.
Too bad the Warners won't be around to enjoy his 66th anniversary. Not after I'm through with him. Not after tonight.
And Buddy also has this weird, maniacal laugh almost sometimes.
Yeah.
He's like...
They keep showing Buddy a lot, too, and it shows that he's obviously gone insane.
Working with the Warners was a true joy. I loved it.
Yeah, he's a nut farmer in Ojai, I think.
Yeah, in Ojai. Anyway, so anyway, the Warners go up there and they're like, "Oh, we couldn't do this without one person." Of course, that is Buddy. And if only we're here today. And Buddy goes out and he goes, "I am here," and of course blows up and then ends up getting smashed by one of the mallets, the prop mallets that is up above the Warners.
Thanks.
Which, you want to talk about Chekhov's gun. That is totally a situation where you have these giant mallets at the beginning of this episode, and you're like, well, those have to be used at some point in this cartoon. So they were both used, one on Buddy and then one on the dancers at the end. So there you go. There's our 65th anniversary special in a nutshell. Hi. So What do you guys think? What are some of your moments in this cartoon that you thought was particularly funny?
I liked it when they were talking to the older ladies on the porch, and they couldn't remember the "Hello, Nurse" catchphrase, and one of them said, "Hello, endocrinologist."
Yes.
Yakko and Wacko would always pop out of something, give you a big kiss, and say, what was that phrase? Hello, endocrinologist. No, that wasn't it. It was, hello, Nana. Not Nana, never Nana. It was, hello, nurse.
Yes. No, it was hello, Nana.
No, never Nana.
Never Nana. Yeah, those ladies were funny. Nathan, what's something that kind of you remember being particularly funny?
I liked when Tweety is talking about how if you listen carefully, you can hear Weed Minlow in the background yelling at Wacko.
Don't just look at me, do something! No! Spit out the bull! Spit it out!
And Wacko's reactions just like remind me of a dog, like clearly like doesn't understand what's going on. Like,
yeah, put that down. What?
Stop staring at me. Like,
yeah,
do something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's totally, you lose the whole concept of, wait a minute, are these people drawn, or it's obviously not traditional animation. So you kind of get the idea, and I suppose this comes from Newsreel the Stars, that they were drawn and that's when they pop out of the page from that point. I'm not exactly sure, but
I guess.
Yeah, because
exactly.
you have to have Weed Memlo there directing the, I don't know. This is going back and forth between what's possible and impossible, and don't think about it, folks, or else your brain will explode. So don't do it. But yeah, that is pretty funny. Wacko does have some good parts, and of course, Wacko got to direct his own cartoon in this as well. Which was what was it, Yankee Doodle Warners or something like that? Anyway, but it was just him doing his armpit noises as they go down. So
it was a nice callback.
What was the callback to?
Well, like early in the episode, they're like, "Oh, these people will clap at anything," and he's like, "Hey, everyone, do you want to hear me play Yankee Doodle with my armpits?"
Oh my gosh!
These people will clap at anything. Hey, everybody, want to hear me play Yankee Doodle with my armpits? Almost anything.
Oh my gosh. See, yeah. I watched the episode 3 times and I never even got that they were alluding to a joke that wouldn't even premiere until later into the episode. Third act or something. Wow. Good catch, Nathan. Wow. Okay. So yeah, this episode is very complex. This episode, and in a good way. I mean, there's so many very subtle jokes that it really does. You do have to watch the episode a few times to get it. I think before we go into some of the references, we should talk about one of the main ones, which is Buddy, the cartoon character of Buddy, who was a real Looney Tune character back in the day. I can look up some of his little cartoons here real quick, but I did show you guys one of his cartoons, or I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
I watched that one.
Buddy's Bearcats. Yeah, Buddy's Bearcats. So, I got the idea that Buddy was going to be like a really lame, Looney Tunes guy, because he was in the 1930s, and the cartoons back then, black and white Looney Tunes weren't especially loony. They were pretty lame. But just a few of them. Buddy's Day Out was his first one in 1933, which is kind of interesting because that's not really when the Warners premiered. Again, don't think about the timeline, people. It'll hurt your brain. Buddy's
a different timeline.
Different timeline. The alternate timeline was Buddy's Day Out without the Warners. Buddy's Beer Garden, Buddy's Showboat, Buddy the Gob, Buddy the Tozer, or Towser, I don't know. Buddy's Garage, Buddy's Trolley Troubles. It seems like a lot of these cartoons have to have trolleys in them back in the day. Buddy of the Apes. Okay, so monkeys are always fun to draw in those old 1930s cartoons. Buddy's Bearcats, which is the baseball one. Buddy's Circus, Buddy the Detective, Viva Buddy, Buddy the Woodsman, Buddy's Adventures, Buddy the Dentist, Buddy's Theater, Buddy's Pony Express, Buddy of the Legion, Buddy's Lost World, Buddy's Bug Hunt, Buddy in Africa, and Buddy Steps Out, and Buddy the G-Man. So a lot of different cartoons. I picked out one at random, and it was Buddy's Bearcats, because I thought, well, that sounds interesting. What's a Bearcat? And it turns out that it's just a baseball short. Nathan, what did you think about the Buddy cartoon?
I thought it was interesting. It was kind of funny, I think. I don't know. It was like, whatever. I liked how everyone kept moving, the whole dancing thing that everyone has to do.
Yeah, and the old cartoons were like, they're moving to the beat constantly, and they just sway left, right, left. They were really all synchronized in this entire baseball stadium.
Yeah, I don't understand why that's a thing in the old-time cartoons, but it's funny.
Buddy does absolutely, he doesn't do anything funny in this cartoon. It's everyone else does funny stuff. Like, all the people visiting are doing funny stuff. And there's some funny gags and stuff in it. I thought that still kind of held up for the most part. But, yeah, Buddy is just there, and he's just a baseball player, and he hits the ball, and that's the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Mickey Mouse ripoff, but as a person, you know? It's not much to Buddy. He has a girlfriend named Cookie, who is like Minnie, who is a girl and not a mouse or an animal of any kind. I don't know. I'm going to a cartoon. I don't want to watch, a person, I want to watch the animals, not this guy.
Oh, one thing I thought was weird about the cartoon was the announcer, he seemed like he shouldn't be able to say that this is the best team in the world. Like, he should be a little less biased as an announcer.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. You get the announcers that just announce the home games for the people. They can do that. But
fine.
Anyway, so the funny thing is about that Buddy cartoon is I actually remember watching it on Nickelodeon or on TNT back in the 80s or 90s. Like, there was a time period where on cable where they were just showing Looney Tunes cartoons and old Looney Tunes cartoons, and that one actually showed up. So, but let's talk about this actual episode. So, there's a lot of references here. So I'm just going to kind of go through them, and you guys can kind of just tell me what you think about it. Let's start off with the dancers, who are singing a fantastic song about the Warners. And they're silly, bizarre, loony, mad, and kooky. And it's kind of annoying. But there's a Liza Minnelli-esque woman there. Some of the caricatures that are shown are... there's Kirk Douglas, who's just put down as Spartacus.
They were like some kind of freaks!
The Gipper is shown talking at one point, and the Gipper, of course, is Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is there in his pajamas, holding a teddy bear. Actually, I think there were reports of Reagan in the White House wearing pajamas to meetings and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure, but we were talking before we started recording about why was he called the Gipper, and I know that Ronald Reagan used to be called the Gipper quite often. Like, he even used to say, I think he even said at the Republican convention before, when Bush was running for president, to win one for the Gipper. And I just thought, okay. I mean, I've heard that expression used in football games before and stuff, but I didn't really know what it was about. So he played the part of George Gipp in a 1940 film biography on him.
Rock. Someday when the team's up against it, breaks are beating the boys, ask them to go in there with all they've got. Win just one for the Gipper. I don't know where I'll be then, but I'll know about it. I'll be happy.
There you go. And similarly, George Bailey is put down for Jimmy Stewart, which we're coming close, when we're recording this, we're coming close to the holiday season. And of course, George Bailey is from It's a Wonderful Life, one of the best films ever. Check it out if you haven't, which, come on, if you haven't, what's wrong with you? The Looney Tunes.
Because I'm always watching them up at Christmas Carol.
That's true. That is always a crunch. Like last year, we my wife and I sat down. We're like, okay, we have to watch one of the films, and we went for Muppet Christmas Carol.
You made the right. You chose wisely.
Almost all the major Looney Tunes characters make an appearance. Bugs Bunny's in this. Foghorn Leghorn, Tweety, Porky Pig, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam are all in here talking about their experiences, good or bad, with the Warners. They made fun of poor Yosemite Sam. That was kind of too bad.
Gall darn farmers used to call me itty bitty baby man. Was that nice?
Yosemite Sam has a very fragile ego. And apparently he's working at a car wash or something. I don't know what was going on with Yosemite Sam there.
Or just getting a car wash.
Maybe he's just getting his car washed. I don't know. But the Warners also make an appearance on the kind of a parody of the Ed Sullivan Show called A Really Big Shoe.
And now, next on our stage, the very famous and talented Joe Marzipan and his family of dancing bears.
Be cool and smell a flower. Make love, not war and shower. Kiss the world and be groovy. Go ahead and make a googie. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba, make a googie. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba, make a googie.
And Make a Gookie is a parody of the Simon and Garfunkel Feelin' Groovy. So otherwise known as the 59th Street Bridge song, which I've never heard it called that, but there you are. The host of this is Bob Hope. Bob Hope is again looking at the cue cards, just like he was in King Yakko. And at one point calls Dot Dottie, which at the moment I didn't realize why that was so offensive. But Kelly, of course, what's the reason why you shouldn't call her Dottie?
You'll die.
Yeah, exactly. You'll die. So yes. So and coincidentally, Bob Hope is dead now. So there you go. She warned him.
He lived to be like 103 or something.
Oh, he was. I don't know if he lived past 100, but he certainly was very old guy. And he was actually reported dead before he died once or twice, I think.
And that happens with everybody nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Oh, thanks to this was pre-internet craze. Yeah, I think they announced it on the hall in like the floor of Congress or something, like a senator or a congressman said, "Bob Hope died today." And
he was just mostly dead.
And he was just mostly dead. Yeah. Anyway, there was a few other things that I don't see listed on here, but at one point they show a woman and it says Baby Jane underneath it. Any idea who that was supposed to be, guys?
Well, there was a movie, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Oh,
yep,
Betty
exactly.
Davis.
Betty Davis. That was Betty Davis.
With no cartoons to make, the Warners were free to run around the lot as they pleased. And did they run around?
Man, there's just so many little references in I'm going to call it the Please, Please, Please Get a Life Foundation guide that I'm going to just kind of skim through it. Of course, Chicken Boo makes an appearance as Irving Swifty LeBoo. Apparently there was an Irving Swifty Lazar who was a famous Hollywood agent. Apparently, the sequence with the Warners having flypaper stuck to their behinds is a takeoff maybe of Pluto getting flypaper stuck on himself in the cartoon Playful Pluto.
I could see that. I remember that cartoon.
I do remember that. He gets his... you know what? I honestly think... I think about that sequence sometimes when I see my dogs get stuck to things, or I get stuck. Like, I got to pull off this thing off my hand, and then I put my hand down, and my other hand gets stuck to the thing, and it's this 65-second sequence, apparently, and it is good. So I could kind of see that. And of course, I have to mention that this episode, we do have a sponsor this week. Other than TeePublic, which, by the way, you should be going to the TeePublic Animanicast store, which is teepublic.animanicast.com. But we are very excited that we have a brand new sponsor, and that, of course, is Nathan?
For Animaniacs. Get up and go feeling.
I gotta get up and go. Yeah, Animaniacs makes at least 3 appearances in this cartoon.
Yeah.
and this time everyone seemed to really like it. And of course...
Well, yeah, except Slappy and Skippy in the box nodding no, as they say, like, oh, you should have it too.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that. Again, another little detail I totally missed. I think they all like the cereal because even though it tasted horrible the first time we saw it a few episodes ago, this time they're all getting paid money because this guy is always there to hand them money. Like, this cereal's great, and a hand out of nowhere comes with cash to shove in their faces. So that was a very cute running gag, and again, a nice little throwback callback to a previous episode. So a lot of stuff in this one. And boy, I can't wait to get paid from Animaniacs. I can't wait for that hand. Oh my gosh, a guy just came in.
Yeah, I was like, they already got to me like right away. So
oh wow. Well,
but we're so far away. So
exactly. Sense. It takes a while for. Thank you, sir. All right. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right. He's gone.
Hey, you guys. It's Rob Paulson here. I am so thrilled that we have the Animanicast to continue to find a way to help me to get a frickin' job. Thank you for listening. Bye.
James Cagney is featured in this. I gotta admire the fact that they're putting in a lot of old Hollywood stars into this cartoon that kids would have little to no idea who these people are. So James Cagney, he was apparently one of the Warner's first special friends.
Did you notice that he got pants in the episode, and that in episode 26 they talked about how Jimmy Cagney got pants by the Warners?
I forgot about that. Now
it was in the testimonials episode. There was
okay, yeah, because
third testimonial they talk about. So
it's all connected.
Just one little I just like when shows have do that kind of stuff. It's just nice.
Yeah. Well, that's a really cool connection right there. Mr. Director, of course, is back, and of course talking about how funny the Warners were, which I thought was kind of weird since he doesn't usually like to give them credit, but he got some dynamite in his face, and
very big words.
Yes.
That cartoon was brilliant. It had an irreverent sagacity and a lugubrious effervescence. It was genius in its subtlety.
Never mind.
Now, the only other there's a couple songs right here that they do sing. They sing, Make a Gookie, the whole We Smashed Outback Buddy, or We Smashed Postman Buddy, or whoever Buddy happens to be that time. But there was a disco song, which was a parody of Staying Alive. And I re-listened to the episode a few times, and I could never understand what they were saying. And I'm thinking, well, I'll put it on closed captioning. My DVD doesn't have closed captioning on it. And apparently Kelly's does. And it upsets me so much. So apparently you have a earlier version or whatever, but I tried a few different ways to get closed captioning to work on my DVD, and it doesn't work. This is what happens, people, when it's not on Netflix anymore, and it drives me nuts. So I listened to the song a bunch of times, and I could not really understand still what they were saying, but luckily the internet was there, so I found the lyrics to the song "Hurtin' Our Feet," the parody of Staying Alive. It goes like this: "Ow, ow, 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 hurtin' our feet, hurtin' our feet. Ow, 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 hurting our feet." It should be clear by the type. I'm not singing it. It should be clear by the types of clothes we choose. We're disco kids with disco shoes. They may be cool, they may look neat, but wearing them sure hurts our feet. Ow, 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 hurting our feet. They do have a parody of John Travolta as well, who has some weird name. I don't know. He looks much older in this cartoon than he ever has. This was before John Travolta's big second coming, though, in Pulp Fiction. So I don't know if the writers or animators really knew what John Travolta looked like anymore when this came out. But he looks like this old 70-year-old man in this cartoon. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in here, guys. I don't know. What else do you want to talk about for this one? Because there's just so much. What stands out?
Elmira's in it.
Oh yeah, Elmira's in it too, and she wants to eat their faces or something like that.
Yeah, it's fun seeing them a couple days later.
Those are some of the things, and then of course we have a whole credit sequence, which is just so many. You have to pause each and every slide of credits to see all the different gags in there, and I'm not going to go through those right now, folks, because I'll put them on our show notes over at retrozap.com if you're interested. But I'm not going to end up going through those. Let me just ask you this question. What were some of the gags that you thought were particularly funny when you look through that credit sequence? Anything stand out?
So in the dialogue editors, they're going off, and I think these are like actual names until they get to like Andrew King, then Aaron King, then Alan King, then Martin Luther King, then Chicken Lala King, then Old King Cole, then Larry King Live, Don King, Don Chiorli, Don Juan, Don Quixote, Don Wilson, Dondi, Duran, whatever will be. Like, it just seems like there's this weird word association that they're going on.
And it just kind of just trails off into side things. What about you, Kelly? Anything in there that you particularly liked?
Well, I didn't even catch at first that they were, funny credits until I looked up and I saw interest-free checking, and then I thought copying and shipping was funny. I don't know why. It just, and then the guy who cuts out all the boring stuff. That one was really funny to me.
I just like the fact that isn't Catherine Page in this just Catherine Page?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Just all this stuff, and then Catherine Page is Catherine Page, and I thought that was quite humorous.
And it was nice that they gave nutritional facts. It's always a nice thing.
Oh yeah, the nutritional facts, how many calories are in the different people, including Weed Memlo, I believe is listed in there. So you get nutritional facts of the episode. You get all this stuff. It's really great stuff. So we'll put that stuff up on the show notes.
I guess what stands out is, Newsreel Stars. It says this all happened in 1930, and then now we find out it's 1929. I guess the question is, what's canon? We could ask.
Wasn't 1929 brought up in an earlier episode?
Yeah, there was also the Ragamuffins. That short was also created in 1929, apparently.
But at the same time, they weren't making.
Maybe they're just rounding up in newsreels.
Well, they also don't start making Warner cartoons, I think, until 1934. They say
exactly.
Like they don't get their own standalone cartoons.
Nathan, I can hear your brain. It's about to explode. You got to stop.
No, it's not like. Clearly, they got locked into the water tower, but the water tower is, a TARDIS, so they can change history. Or they had already changed history, and now they're like where they weren't even created at one point or something. But
sure,
you have to get created. Like life will find a way, Jurassic Park, and so they just got pushed around by a year or something. So
sure.
You put in a Spielberg reference.
It's a theory that Kelly will automatically accept if a Spielberg reference is put into it somewhere. So, okay, well, let's go ahead. I think it's time then for our water tower rating. Okay, guys, so what do you think? Out of 5 water towers, how many water towers would you give this episode? Nathan, let's start with you.
I'm going to give it 4.5 water towers.
All right. Why is that?
I think it's a better origin stories than the newsreel, the stars, that beast. And I just like how there's so much thrown into it, and it's just a nice send off for the season finale basically, like, usually you don't get a nice, like, a perfect season finale kind of thing going on. So
Right. A lot of episodes just they end the show and they just kind of end on a random episode.
There's no difference between the season finale and the episode before, but this one clearly had something a little bit larger than a lot of the other episodes in the season. So yeah, I'm glad that worked out, and I'll give it 4.5 for that.
All right, Kelly, what about you?
I think I'm going to go with 3.5. There was a lot crammed into it, but I didn't find any of it really particularly funny.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't one of those that I left, with the feeling of, I have to rewatch that, or I'm going to quote that from now until the end of time. So I liked all the pop culture references and things like that, but I felt like it was more informative in this origin story and their history, but not as hilarious as some of the other episodes.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm on the edge, either 4 or 4.5. I'm going to just go ahead and give it 4, I guess. I'm kind of with you, Kelly. It's not as the funniest one. I really do really love all the details, though. I mean, it's almost like so many details. It almost is too much for me to handle, I guess, if I'm making myself clear enough. It's just a lot of stuff in here. And while I do admire it, it also doesn't have, I don't feel like some jokes got enough time to really breathe, to make them as funny as they could be, I suppose. But that being said, it is really awesome. It's an awesome episode. So I'll give it 4, maybe a 4.25, 4.15. Not 4.25 would be 4.25. We don't do that.
We haven't done that yet.
No, we're not starting today. So
okay.
4 for me. And even like tiny little things. The animation was just fantastic in this episode. And just small little details like everyone hates the first song. The Warners are throwing up, and there's Dr. Scratch and Sniff just smiling and tapping his finger to the beat. He loves the song so much, and it's just really cool. So it is an episode. Maybe I'll give it 4.5 or even 5 if I watch it a few more times just to catch all the stuff that's there. Because even like little throwaway lines like February 30th, it's such a quick little thing, and they don't call attention to it. It's just there, and you keep moving. So I don't know. It's a very good episode. I think we can all agree.
And then you mentioned the animation. It was TMS that did the animation, and I think this was their last one.
Yeah, this is their last one, which is too bad because they are really, 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 they were really awesome with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually noticed the animation because normally I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the quality of the animation, but there was a scene where these two guys were in the projection room, and the light from the projector was illuminating them, and I thought that was really well done. Very cinema-like quality.
Yeah, definitely, with all the shadows and just I don't know, and everyone's on...
What shadows? We need more shadows.
More shadows, more.
Dark, deeper lines, dark lines.
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and let's wrap things up. But before we do, let's get to our poll from, a few weeks ago. We asked the audience out there where they would most like to see Animaniacs again now that it is gone from Netflix, which is kind of weird because a lot of people, I think, still don't there's a good portion of people that don't know that it's off of Netflix still.
Yeah, even like during the panel, they were talking about it, like, oh, and the show's on Netflix. I'm like,
no, it's not. I know. I was right in the front row going, no, it's not. Yeah. Our one of our previous episodes, I showed the Randy Rogel panel, and they mentioned right at the top, it's on Netflix, and I wanted to shout out, no, it's not, but I of course wouldn't do that. I know, and I talked to some of the students in my school, like they'll see Pinky and the Brain up on the shelf on my bookshelf in here, and they're like, oh, Pinky and the Brain, I love Animaniacs. And they're like, well, where did you see it? And they're like, oh, it's on Netflix. I'm like, it's not anymore. And they're like, what? I get very upset about that. So
they destroyed their world.
I know. Well, anyway, so the question was, since Animaniacs is no longer on Netflix, where would you like to see the show's classic episodes? Notice how I said classic episodes, so, since there's still a possibility we could always get them on, a reboot one of these days, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, we just want syndication at least.
We're just talking syndication at this point. Well, anyway, the choices were back on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, or maybe on TV, like cable. Coming at the bottom of the pack was Amazon Prime, 9%. Then it was Hulu, and then it was back on TV, like cable, like Cartoon Network or something. But everybody, 58%, the vast majority said, just put it back on Netflix. I don't know if Netflix is going to do it at this point. I'm optimistic, but I don't know. Netflix is really getting into we're going to make our own content and put it up on. And they seem to be kind of moving stuff that they don't own completely off to the side. So who knows?
Is it Netflix or is it Warner Brothers? Because I know Disney's pulling their stuff because they're going to have their own streaming.
Yeah, well, for the record, I did put out an email to Warner Brothers Public Relations Department, and they have not responded.
Cool.
This is the press, Warner Brothers. We are the press. Come on. You got to know. The media wants to know. The world wants to know. Anyway, well, let's go ahead. That's interesting, and I agree with them. I'd like to see him on Netflix. What do you guys think? Where would you like to see it?
Netflix. There's no commercials.
Yeah,
totally Netflix. It's so easy. Just I can watch it on my phone or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I own the DVDs and everything, but and that's what a lot of people say. Well, I have it on DVD. It's like, yeah, so do I, but. Just because I have Rogue One on Blu-ray doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it on Netflix first because I'm flipping through Netflix and I see it and I'm like, oh, I'll watch Rogue One again because it's there.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I actually put in like the DVDs of my Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
because they're on TV all the time.
They're on TV all the time, and now you can, of course, do the streaming version off your Disney app and everything like that. That's just where things are going. So it needs to be on somewhere, and I don't think Warner Brothers has a streaming service of any kind. So I don't know. We'll find out. That's a to be continued, I suppose. We'll find out. And you'll hear about it first, maybe, on the Animanicast. Probably not. I don't know, if you're not going on the internet for anything else.
Yeah. Or... There you go.
Just don't go on the internet for anything else, and you'll hear it first.
Don't
on the
Google Animaniacs ever, and yeah.
And you'll hear it first on the Animanicast. Great tagline. I love that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our poll for this week. Nathan, what do we have?
So this is the end of season 1, which also means the end of Rita and Runt. And I guess the question is, what was the best Rita Runt episode of all time? And we've had a couple of polls, so I'm just going to list off the winners of each of those, and then the one that we haven't had a poll for, I guess. So, Les Miserables was the first winner. Then we had Frankenrunt, and then Kiki's Kitten, and then Which One was one that we haven't had a poll for at all. So,
which is actually a really good read and run too. All the Beauty and the Beast parody and
beat it all. So yeah, we have the Beauty and the Beast parody. We have a Young Frankenstein parody almost, so Les Mis parody, and Kiki's Kitten is the gorilla one. So
yeah, Gorillas in the Miss parody.
Yeah, and that one's a very different one from Rita and Runt.
Very different. Too, if you don't like singing, then that's the one to vote for.
Yeah,
I suppose.
If you don't like Rita and Runt cartoons, that might be your favorite.
That might be the favorite because it's just not like Rita and Runt cartoons at all. Okay, well, you can go and vote for your favorite by going to twitter.com/Animaniacast or simply searching on Twitter for hashtag Animaniacast poll, and you can make your voice heard. Well, I think with all that out of the way, it's time to say thank you guys for listening to our review of season 1, all you lovely listeners out there. And we'll be back next week with something else, either moving on to season 2 or maybe another special episode. We seem to be having quite a few of these special episodes lately. of course, with Tom Ruegger, the creator and senior producer of Animaniacs. So if you
But he won't be in next week.
Yeah,
so.
he won't be on next week. Don't worry. Our plan is not for... Who knows? But who knows?
Who knows?
You'll just have to find out. I don't think he will be, but you never know. But you'll just have to tune in and find out. If you haven't listened to our episodes with Tom Ruegger yet, head on over to animanicast.com and you will be able to see our full archive of previous episodes. And go check those out. You're going to hear exclusive audio from auditions from different actors trying out for the roles of Wacko and Minerva and all these different characters. And of course, you're going to hear how inside scoops of how this show was made. So really, really great stuff. And thank you, Tom, for being on the show on a regular basis. It's amazing. Let's go ahead and get to some contact information for you guys. Nathan, where can people reach out to you online?
If you have a Twitter account, you can follow me at JangoFT. That's me.
Uh-huh. And Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter at Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or email me Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for us, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, all with the Animanicast. I think it's just at Animanicast for all that stuff. And of course, we're over at RetroZap.com. Head to RetroZap. There's just an amazing list of assortments of podcasts. It used to be that they were all in one little drop-down menu, but now there's, I believe, 21 different podcasts in the RetroZap podcast network. So they actually split them into 2 different columns. So check them out. You will not be disappointed. And RetroZap just has a ton of different stuff. It's pop culture, Star Wars, and more. So thank you to the folks at RetroZap for being awesome. We're also going on YouTube as well. We're putting up our stuff on YouTube slowly but surely. Who knows? By the time this episode is published, you might be able to go to check us out on YouTube as well. So there we go. Well, for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds of the Animaniacs characters or any other Animaniacs-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Warner Brothers, Amblin Entertainment, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Happy anniversary, Warners!
Why, Skippy? What are you doing?
Oh, hello, Aunt Slappy. I was just congratulating the Warners on having some Animaniacs. Part of this complete breakfast.
Oh,